Thank you again, citizens, for allowing the Board of Commissioners to go into executive session. Board of Commissioners, do we have a motion to come out of executive session?
So move. Second.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion before we come out? We have a motion and a second. Please indicate by raising your right hand if you approve to come out of executive session. We have a 5-0 unanimous vote and the motion carries. Board of Commissioners, is there any other topics? Are there any other topics that you would like to discuss? I have one for you, Madam County Attorney, regarding the grant that CSB just recently, when I say CSB, Community Service Board, submitted just for overview because they needed something or permission from this Board of Commission to proceed for housing here in Douglas County, and it's affordable housing. So if you could just bring the board up to speed about this grant,
Certainly.
$10 million grant.
So HUD did send out applications for governments to apply for grants, and the grant is based on how the county will address affordable housing within the jurisdiction. And so part of the application requires a plan, right? You're going to do this, you're going to do that, you're going to, maybe amend the zoning code or, partner with some other jurisdictions or nonprofits to address the housing issue in the county, in the state, really. And so in the application, the Community Service Board did submit to Madam Chair some documents for signature. But it was my opinion that before the chair could sign those documents, it needed to come before the board to review, because this is saying that the county will do these things in order to qualify for this grant. And so it needed the eyes of the governing board to ensure that this was in line with you guys' vision. And so what it looks like, it's going to be added as a new business item to your meeting tomorrow. You will have the Community Service Board individual, I think her name is Miss Henry, will be, Tiffany is going to ensure that she's here to present the item to you guys. You can read over with her plan that is going to be submitted to qualify you for the grant that Madam Chair is speaking of.
Thank you so much, Madam County Attorney. Certainly, Board, I'll make sure that this document came before you all, because I felt, because of the brevity and the information that was embedded in that grant, I said, although I serve as the chair or the vice chair of CSB Community Service, which is, quasi-governmental entity, it still needed our approval. And so thank you, Madam County Attorney, for making sure that this document has been read clearly and vetted, and certainly wanted to bring before the board tomorrow. It's, again, a $10 million grant, and we certainly wanted to seize the moment if this board was interested in moving towards affordable housing in the county. So, but again, thank you, and we will have Patricia Henry. Pat Henry is the CFO, the Chief Financial Officer for the Community Service Board, and hopefully Ray Lyford, I'll invite him as well, so he'll be here to explain this grant and what it will do in terms of affordable housing here in Douglas County. And it's a grant that I believe it's a state grant, so it's only so much funding available, and every county, is my understanding right now, is vying for this grant. So we certainly want a seat at the table, and would love to see, when we approve, and see what CSB can do to secure this grant. Any other questions or any comments?
Do we have copies of the documents, and can they be sent to us?
I will send out what Madam Chair received. I will email that to you guys right after this meeting.
And what is the, obligation or responsibility of the county in terms of grant oversight? Are they asking us to provide staff labor or any type of match?
I did not see that in the documents, which is again why Madam Chair's forethought to ensure that you guys had an opportunity to ask questions is important, because those are questions I just don't have the answers to at this time. But I can send you the plan that Madam Chair was asked to sign, that she saw fit to wait and sign. I will send that to you guys. It can give you some insight, but it's not the full application.
And it has not been signed yet, just waiting on this board's collaborative
Input, that's right.
nod, if there's something we want to do in the county before anything has been signed off on. And the presentation to be made tomorrow.
That's right, under
Yeah.
new business, it will be added.
Just a quick question. All right, so is there a time sensitivity? Because tomorrow seems just kind of rushed to me, I'm just gonna be honest,
So there is.
It
There
is.
is. In fact, I do know that Ms. Henry did ask for extensions to the deadline. And so it is time sensitive. And so that deadline has been extended to allow for this board to consider it tomorrow.
Okay, and I guess my question is, if we don't have the full application or grant application, I'm trying to understand, what are we encompassing by saying if we did approve this tomorrow, what does that mean without seeing the full application on what are our obligations and liabilities?
So those are questions, hopefully can be answered tomorrow. The second part is that the portion that requires your input is whether or not the plan that was put together to get the grant is something that you guys agree with. And so hopefully Ms. Henry can say that if I submit this application, we will be required to do A, B, C, and D. Or maybe it's nothing, right? I think it's nothing, but I don't want to tell you that and be wrong.
So is it a letter of support that they've asked Madam Chair to sign on to? Or
It was
is
a
it
letter of support of the
Okay.
plan. That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Okay, but we'll see the plan though tomorrow.
You will
before
see the
Right.
plan today.
Today, okay.
And I just want to make sure, because it's going to have it's a macro effect with affordable housing going through the county, and for me to nod and say yes, sitting, as a board member for CSB, I thought that was a little too much. I wanted to make sure this board was on board with affordable housing even
Sure.
coming to the county,
Sure.
period.
Okay. And I guess my last question, if we do not agree with the plan for whatever reason tomorrow, what happens? Is the grant we're no longer eligible?
Most likely for this particular grant, we will not be eligible.
Okay.
And we've extended the deadline, and we had a couple of hiccups just trying to get it to you all because our county attorney, our staff attorney was ill, so that slowed it up a little bit as well. So that's the reason why you don't have the documents. Madam Staff Attorney, you want to bring us, do you have anything to add to about the grant?
No, ma'am, I think you laid out pretty much
Okay.
the status of where we are.
Okay.
I just have.
Okay.
I
Commissioner
don't know if he,
Mitchell?
I don't know if he was done. You were done. Oh,
I
okay.
yield the floor back to you.
And how much was it? It was $10 million, I think it
I
is.
think that's max. I don't think we would get all 10. Maybe, I guess based on the award, but the max was 10 million.
$10 million. And I guess we'll get all the information to us so we can see what strings are attached.
Right.
If there's any. But it sounds to me like it's just a support letter.
They
And
just
if it's
want
just a
support.
support letter, then I don't think we're obligated or tied to or nothing more than saying we support them getting $10 million to do affordable housing. And I know you don't know that. I'm just,
That's my understanding.
Right.
Yeah, that's the understanding.
But as opposed to making this a consent agenda or, like Madam Chair said, her hesitation in signing without y'all's input, we should get that information tomorrow from Ms. Henry.
right. And it would have been really nice, as Commissioner Raxton stated, that we had this information prior to now, and it sounds rushed. It appears to be rushed. Why, I don't know, but, and any,
I'm not sure.
yeah, not any reason as to how they end up getting it so late and getting it to us to kind of commit to it so late?
We received it about 3 weeks, was it 3 weeks ago, Staff Attorney? She was ill, and it just, a couple of things that
We
just,
received it in October, like the end of October, was requesting a signature to certify a plan. Did not feel comfortable advising anyone to sign certifying the plan
Right,
that
it was
we
2 weeks.
have. So they were in the process of applying. I think their deadline was November 21st. And so we received.
You're not at
You
the
might
mic.
wanna
They're about
go
to
to the
tell
mic.
us
Please go to the mic.
to
Yeah,
not do
go to-
that.
yeah.
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 So I just was uncomfortable.
It was requesting certifying information that we did not have. So the request was made.
What
to-
certified information they were asking on our behalf that we didn't have?
Actually, they were asking for Chairwoman
Okay.
Jones's signature.
Okay,
With
okay.
respect to that, to certify their documents related to their grant application. But as we didn't have any documents or information to certify, we requested that information. They were in the process of completing the application. My understanding was it would have been due November 21st. She provided the information, Ms. Henry, I think November 15th. We were in our marathon session Monday, and then, of course, I unexpectedly was out ill for the remainder of the week. So I had no information with respect to the grant. It didn't originate with us. It originated with CSB. But in
Okay.
making the decision of whether or not you can certify the information, the request was made to receive the information. And so I think she sent over a plan, and Ms. Henry's
And
concern.
I'm assuming the plan is kind of how they plan to spend, if it's 10 million or 2 million.
That's right.
Okay, that's what the plan is.
And so they wanted to make sure it was in line with the commissioner's vision plan for the county, Ms. Henry. And so,
So we all think that we're going to get all this information tomorrow as to lining up with our vision of $10 million spend.
what we can provide is what we've been provided, which is, which is their plan.
Right.
I reached out to her Friday to request to see if she would be available, if we could get it on the agenda this week to be able to answer any remaining questions, because she was only able to get it extended to Wednesday.
As in the day after tomorrow, Wednesday?
We've been pushing it and pushing it. and
Wow.
pushing it.
So I guess my question or concern, and this is not to any of our county attorneys or staff, but we need some sort of policy, because a grant comes in a packet with weeks worth of information that has to be developed. The application period is extensive. The requirements are extensive. So they didn't find out on Monday and that it's due on Wednesday. I'm not saying that I'm not supportive of having affordable housing here, but we've got to come up as a commission and with our administration for a policy for how we are approached when grant funding is going to require, even if it's just a letter of support. I know I have looked at grants on behalf of the county and made sure before pen was put to any piece of paper that that information was shared with all of the appropriate people. What would the ask be? What are the requirements?
Right.
Is it going to take staff involvement? Who is going to have financial oversight and responsibility? What are the liabilities of all of these things before we even considered moving forward? So I just have a problem that it feels like we continue to get these requests the day before something is due from people who have had this information for weeks, if not months in advance. That just does not, that reeks of lack of transparency to me, and that's what happens when people have the opportunity to then make up stories or come up with in their own mind why something seems salacious or insidious, and that's not necessarily what they are doing. But we've got to have a clearer process so that we are making informed decisions, so that we can avoid any appearance of impropriety or just doing something because it was rushed or forced. And again, that's no knock to you at all. This has nothing to do with our county staff in general, and it really has nothing to do with the CSB. It just seems like this is a regular and habitual pattern that we need a policy to address how these things are going to go going forward.
Understood. And to add to that, though, I ditto what Commissioner Jones has stated, but from your legal side, and I don't know if you can probably answer this question, what's your take on what you've seen thus far that we're just trying to get and understand? What's your take on it?
Essentially, what we've discussed here today is the bulk of what we have. I think that Ms. Henry, and I don't want to speak for her, but when she and I touched base last week, I think she thought it was something that you all had. So
Did she send it, or did she?
I don't know, because I don't know if she was not clear, because when I spoke with her about coming to answer the questions, we were trying to iron out those details, and so she had questions about what you all would probably like. In terms of having the presentation, so that's why I wanted to make sure she was available so that she could speak with you all and clarify, because I don't have any conceptual knowledge of the origination, the application process, or anything like that, because that's really not my scope. It just came to us to review, was it appropriate for signature?
Yeah.
From there, it appeared that there needed to be more information provided before we could feel comfortable doing that. And certainly, if there's going to be a letter of support or some certification of a plan, then I think Madam Chair felt strongly about that, as did legal, that it should
Right.
have the board's input with respect to that. So we did what we could to expedite and get it on the agenda. I think the original intent was probably to get it on the meeting that preceded this one. However, just given the turntable of getting the information.
But even if it would have been on that agenda, we still would have been approving it a day or two before it needed to be submitted, because it sounded like from your original comments that because it wasn't on that agenda, that necessitated the extension request. And now it's coming on this because the extension is expiring on Wednesday. So either way, we would have still been getting the information very last minute.
And I can't speak to that, unfortunately, but I did want you all to have the opportunity to hear it, particularly given that there was maybe some opportunity for funding. And I don't know, again, what you all will decide, but we just wanted to have the will of the board and have your input made with it, because it did not appear appropriate to recommend signature without that.
Yeah.
Right. Madam Chair, I guess I would also ask, because when we're talking about affordable housing, I'm thinking there's a public hearing where we take this to the community and we get input from residents when we're saying, what is the county's public affordable housing strategy? And for us then to say tomorrow, okay, well, we're going to set, this is our strategy and we're agreeing with affordable housing plan by a third-party entity and not per se this board's policy, to me, that's going to be, open up a whole bunch of can of worms from my perspective, and that I've not had the opportunity even to share this or to give thought to my community and then get input from the residents on building an affordable housing policy for Douglas County.
Well, let me just say this, Commissioner Raxton. Typically, these grants, this grant would not have even come to the board at all, although CSB grants are handled at the Community Service Board level. And they certainly have the ability, myself and my chairman of the CSB. But with this one, because it had some information baked in there, it says it needs to align with the county's vision. We are a body. So I said, it'd be easy for me to sign, but I can't speak for all your districts and this community without this board. So that's why I felt very uncomfortable just signing, just saying, yeah, let's do it, because that grant funding is coming to the Community Service Board, which is quasi-state, so, and county. But that's the reason why we are here. Other than that, you all never see any of the grants that they have. But this one, the word affordable housing really sparked my interest as to getting this information to the board. I said, you all need to at least know about it. We could have signed off on it based on approval, because it's just basically a letter of support saying that you support it and it aligns with your vision. There's nothing you have to do. Everything has been done. We have a grant writer at the Community Service Board. All that's been done. It's just, they just said, Madam Chair, we need your signature. I said, not on this one because I'm uncomfortable. Let me bring the board in, because affordable housing, and if you want them to pause, now we probably will lose the 10 million because we've asked for two extensions.
I believe
Yeah,
two.
because I had her pause, even though she said she needed to, because when she came to me, she said, it needs to be submitted within a week or so. I said, it's easy to get my signature, but I said I needed to stop, and I wanted to get it down the line to the legal team to make sure they take a look at it. And we all had some hesitation, and I said, I'd rather bring it to the board and we vote on it. So or look at it or listen to the presentation. If you all don't like the presentation tomorrow, because affordable housing impacts Douglas County. So if you don't like the presentation, they just want to apply for the grant tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, so you have that option after listening to the presentation.
All right. Thank you.
Vice Chair. Thank you.
Okay, so we have confirmed that there is going to be a presentation.
Yeah, well, I'll make sure she bring everything that she.
Yes, in fact, Ms. Henry followed up with me today to get information, so.
Okay, and I think it'd be imperative too that, the director and everyone, he also be here, because it seems like there's a lot of questions. And I mimic what my fellow commissioners are saying is, if you're asking for a letter of support of our vision in regards to how we see affordable housing or how we're wanting to go forward in line with our vision for the county, I just would like for someone to have reached out to me and said, hey, this is coming before us. I would like to talk to you for a minute about that. And as I also sit on that board, I sure would have loved for someone to reach out to me and let me know, even though I know Madam Chair has the authority to sign that, and I appreciate that she brought this to all of us, but I would like to have had some time to sit down and discuss this, because, again, it is talking about the vision of our county.
Yeah, the vision.
The vision of our county. And that vision just don't pop up overnight. We have to talk about this.
Exactly.
So,
Correct.
but I yield back, Madam Chair.
All right. So we'll have the presentation tomorrow, and again, like if the board have some hesitation or some heartburn, the grant just won't be applied for. It's just something we'll miss the opportunity if it's an opportunity.
But if we don't, they can still do it, from my understanding, if I heard you guys correctly. They still can do this grant without us. It's just they would like to have our support. Am I correct? Or
I don't think so. I
Oh,
think
no.
it does require
It
the
needs my signature.
certification from the chair saying that this plan on how the money will be spent is
See.
acceptable to the county. And Madam Chair's vision was correct in that she said, yeah, I need to get input from my board. So,
Right.
so no, I don't think they can do it without
Okay, so.
Madam
yeah,
Chair's approval, that it's contingent on y'all's approval.
Correct. Okay, so that means we'll have to vote on agreeing to what they think the vision is, or what the vision that they come up with, of what they've actually put a plan together, if I'm hearing you correctly.
Tomorrow, we will be given approval to apply for the grant. It doesn't mean that they will even, they may not even receive the grant, but this will give them the opportunity to apply for it.
Right, but the approval side of this is based on their vision, what they're saying our vision is as a county when it comes to affordable housing, if I'm hearing correctly.
Right.
Okay.
So I guess and this may be a question, if it's more appropriate for tomorrow, then I can just ask again tomorrow, but my confusion is, that sounds, a certification of the plan sounds different to me than a letter of support. Because a letter of support, from my understanding with grant writing, is that it says, we support the CSB in going out and seeking these funds, and we will do these 2 or 3 minimal things. It's usually help them identify a space or something of that nature, a very low test. A certification to me sounds like this is what the plan is, and we are going to put or assist them in putting into place all of the things that would need to happen to make sure that if you are given this funds, that these items are available to you. So that might be the county is going to donate this piece of land to have this affordable unit built on, or some other certification that we are going to affirmatively participate in some way in the distribution of these grant funds. Am I?
So yes, with that understanding, then I would agree with you. I just pulled up the signature page that was presented to Madam Chair, and it says at the top, well, the email says attaches document needing Madam Chair's signature. As I shared with you, this is for a $10 million housing grant. It's to build affordable housing in Douglas County for the indigent, and it says homeless, but I prefer to use the word unhoused. And then attached is a signature page that the applicant is the Community Service Board. The project name is the Douglas Supported Housing. The project's location is Douglas County. The federal program is the Continuum of Care Builds. The name of the certifying jurisdiction is Douglas County, hence the need for the chair's signature.
but there was no, the actual letter that she is signing was not attached, just the signature page.
Exactly, which is why
I got you.
you got it. So then we got that, but the timing had,
Passed.
yes.
Understood. Thank you. I yield back, Madam Chair.
Okay. Any other questions, board? Okay. Any other comments before we close out? All right. If there's nothing else to come before this body, this meeting is adjourned.
I'm sorry, we didn't have to. Do they have a